Hey friends, welcome to today's video. My name is Stephanie and today I'm super excited to bring to you a winter and holiday nail art compilation video. I think this is my biggest nail art tutorial video yet. I usually do maybe like 6 designs for the season. Halloween was definitely another big one, but as you saw from the thumbnail, I have a ton of different designs to share today. I'd like to think that most of these are beginner friendly, but I can see some of them being a little bit more intermediate depending on your skill level or the tools that you have. As always, I will have everything that I used in the description box down below, so make sure to check that out if you have any questions. But yeah, I really hope you enjoy these looks as much as I do, so let's get into the tutorials. So this first look is the super simple, almost no tools needed Santa hat French tip. You pretty much just need 2 colors and a bobby pin. Basically, the first shade that I'm using is Olive's Garnet, which is this really pretty, deep, metallic kind of red, just to give the Santa hat a little bit of a velvet look to it. So I just freehanded this French tip. It really does not have to be perfect because we are going to be covering up the smile line, so don't worry about it at all. Then going in with your bobby pin or an orange stick like I'm using here, you're going to grab some polish and start creating the tip of the Santa hat as if it's like folded over. So it's kind of like this long, swoopy triangle sort of shape. I think I should have made mine a little bit more to the side of my nail, but it's fine. So then with your bobby pin, you're just gonna dip it into some white polish and then create that little white fluffy trim. I'm just creating these little dots. You can make them a little bit more oval shape if you want that kind of thick and fluffy look. And then of course dotting the very tip of the hat so it kind of has a pom-pom look to it. I love this design so much. It's so easy and so cute. You can also use green instead of red if you want to do an elf hat. Next, we have another French tip design, but you can easily paint this over a bare nail or however you want, but the main star of this is the little bow, which I think is so cute and so trendy. For the French tip, I'm going to be using Zoya's Adel, which is this really soft, milky, sheer white. And for the red, I'm going to be using that same Olive Garnet shade, just because it reminds me of like the perfect Christmas ribbon sort of color. And I'm using a long, skinny detail brush to create the initial ribbon going up and across my nail. I kind of like it off to the side like this. I think it's really cute. And then going in with a shorter but still skinny detail brush, I'm painting on that little bow. And you can go over the lines a few times if you want to thicken them up a little bit, but I just love how this looks so much. It is so dainty and cute, and you can do whatever colors you want with it. Next, I have these super easy glittery ornaments using reflective polishes, which are so sparkly, so fun. The 2 shades I'm using are KBShimmers. There's a nap for that, and which is this dark hot pink kind of shade, and of Quartz, which is a lighter, almost lavender pinky shade, because I love a pink Christmas. So going in with the biggest dotting tool that I have, I create an initial dot and then start swirling from the center outwards, just trying to spread the polish out a little bit more to create a larger circle. So think about when you're saucing a pizza, you know how you'll put the sauce in the center of the dough and then spread it out? That's kind of what you're doing on a much smaller scale. Granted, it's a lot harder to get the shape exactly perfect with larger dotting tools, so I will go in with a smaller brush if I need to sort of perfect the edges. But once I'm happy with the shape and they look round enough, I'll go in with like a gray or black polish just to create these 2 vertical lines so they're hanging from the tip of my nail. And those are your little Christmas ornaments. They are so cute, and these especially look so fun under flash. It would be so cute to match this to your ornaments. Next, we have this super simple holly design. All you need is a green and a red, whatever base color you want, and an orange stick or a toothpick. I wanted these to be a little sparkly, so I decided to use Mooncat's Your Heart's a Black Hole, which is this absolutely gorgeous deep red magnetic, as well as Weeping Willow, which is this deep emerald green, but I'm not going to be using the magnetic effect, but they're still sparkly. So going in with an orange stick, I'm going to be creating these little slanted dashes using the orange stick kind of on its side a little bit to sort of create the holly leaves. So I think because I used an orange stick, which is a little bit thicker than a toothpick, my little dashes kind of came out very blobby, so I kind of had to pull out the tips of the leaves a little bit, if that makes sense. So don't be afraid to sort of drag out the polish a little bit more so you kind of get that spiky leaf shape. Either way, it all comes together, especially after you add your 3 little berries. It is just such a cute and simple design. You could leave it alone with just the one in the corner of your nail, but I decided to do a second one in the opposite corner. This next design is one of my favorites. It is a snowy tree branch with a glittery ornament hanging off of it. And you can kind of wear this 2 ways. So you're going to start by creating your tree branch by basically drawing a line, kind of tracing your smile line if your nails are long enough, but if they're shorter, just draw it a little bit lower. And then going in with your dark green polish, you're going to start on one end of your nail, and from the branch going outwards, you're going to make these light feathery brush strokes, and you're going to make them a little bit smaller the closer you get to the other side of your nail. So you're going to repeat this on the top and bottom of your branch, and just by using this dark green polish alone, and depending on the pressure of your brush strokes, it already has this really beautiful dimension to the color. It is just so beautiful, and you can honestly just leave this as is for like a really pretty garland tip. But I decided to make it a little bit more wintry by adding some snow. So after cleaning your brush, you're going to dip into some white polish and basically repeat the process, but I do much fewer strokes of the white polish, so it's kind of a little bit more spread out, and I try not to cover the green completely. So again, you can also just leave it as is because it is just so beautiful. I feel like it looks really detailed and textured, but you're only using 2 polishes. But again, if you want to make it a little bit more festive, you can add in a little sparkly ornament just like we did before. I'm using another reflective polish just to get a little bit more glitz and sparkle out of it. And the only difference with this ornament is that I added a little bow. So yeah, this is the final look. I think it is just so cute and fun. I really feel like this is one of those manis you can extend the life of if you just do these garland tips at first, and then after a couple of days you can add in the snow and ornaments and revive it. Next, I have this glittery, twinkly Christmas tree that is so simple and easy to do. You basically just need a triangle on your nail of whatever size, but you want to leave a little extra room at the top for your star. So I'm going to be using one of Cirque's gold celestial star charms. You can also use a star glitter or just a dot of gold metallic polish for a very simple and abstract tree. And again, you can totally leave this as is. It's super sparkly and pretty, but I decided to do a little layer of Holo Taco's disco dust over the tree to act as colorful Christmas lights. It is just such a cute detail, especially when you see the look under flash. It is just so colorful and so fun, like a little hidden detail. Personally, I love my trees to be a little bit more detailed, so I really love these like snowy pine trees. I think they just look so good. I'm going to be using Zoya's Aspen as my base. This is a matte white polish that has a little bit of shimmer in it, so I think it's so appropriate for the winter season. And I'm going to start by drawing my little tree trunk in the center of my nail just to kind of get an idea of where I want the tree to be on my nail. And then I extend the trunk upwards just to get an idea of where the top of the tree is going to be. And then I'll go in with my green polish and start from the top of the tree, working my way down, creating these light strokes, kind of like the garland design, except we're starting from our smallest strokes and working our way to longer strokes towards the bottom. So you're going to repeat this on the other side, and once you're happy with your base tree design, again, you can totally leave this as is if you want a simple pine tree mani, but I am just such a fan of snowy pine trees. I feel like it is so magical and reminds me of a winter wonderland. So I'm going in with a clean brush dipped into a stark white polish, and just like the garland design, I made these little short white lines following the branches so it looks like snow. I absolutely love the finished look of this, and especially the contrast of the glossy tree against the matte base. I also really love these super simple, almost vintage kind of Christmas trees where they're basically stacked triangles. It just is so easy. So for my base, I'm going to be using OPI's Oh My Majesty, which is this creamy off-white kind of color that has this really warm shimmer in it. And then again, going in with my staple green polish for all of my Christmas trees, I start by painting a little triangle in the center of my nail, or I tried to make it in the center. It's a little off center, but again, it doesn't matter too much. So once you're happy with your triangle shape, you're gonna go ahead and start making the second triangle, but I make the tip of mine kind of overlap the bottom edge of the first triangle instead of just stacking them, because I feel like it would look more like a fast forward symbol if you look at it from the side. So I kind of like it overlapped a little bit more, and I just kept it at 2 triangles and then added a little tree trunk. But you can also do a third triangle and not add a tree trunk if that's easier. Next, I have some simple dotted candy canes over a minty base. This is another one of my favorites because it is just so easy to do. So you can use whatever base color you want, but I really loved Sinful Colors Appeasing because it's just this bright minty blue-green color. And then you're going to take a small dotting tool or toothpick dipped in white to start creating your candy cane. After creating the first dot, I create another one a little bit higher and off to the side, and then bring it down, and then do 2 or 3 dots straight down so that way you have your candy cane shape. It might be a little tricky at first to get the spacing exactly right. You pretty much want to leave the same amount of space as the dots that you created initially for the red dots to go in afterwards, but it's totally fine if they overlap a little bit. You obviously are still going to see the candy cane design. So I managed to fit 2 on my nail, but I still felt like it was a little empty in the background, so I went in with Cirque's Snow Angel, which is this shredded white matte glitter, which ended up being the perfect touch for the background. It just added so much detail and was still really subtle too, so I absolutely loved how this looks in the end. If you want a little bit more of a challenge though, you can do a full candy cane print across your nail, which I absolutely love doing. I think it just looks so good. I especially love using Island P's Ruby as my base. It is just this beautiful metallic-y looking red polish. So sparkly and so pretty. So once that's dry, I will go in with the longest detail brush that I have and start painting a diagonal line across my nail just in white polish. It's totally fine if this first line is not super straight because this one is going to be my thicker candy cane stripe. So I'll kind of repaint along the top and bottom edge of that initial line that I did to start slowly thickening it up. Then underneath that, I'll paint a thin stripe, and then below that will be another thick one. So I basically just alternate between thicker stripes and thin ones. You really don't have to do anything more. Just repeat that pattern on the top half of your nail. And the most important tip for this design is when you're top coating, you want to do it at an angle following the stripes, because otherwise you risk smudging them, and that would be so heartbreaking after all the time you spent on these stripes. But yeah, the final look is so worth it, and you definitely don't have to do this on every single nail. And here's a look at a French tip variation, again using Snow Angel as this base. I absolutely love this polish. It is just so perfect for this look. And now getting into the more general winter designs, we have this classic glitter gradient snowflake nail art that I just love doing every year, and I switch up the color of the glitter. And for my base, I'm going to be using Cirque Colors Chiffon, which is basically my go-to milky pink for all of my negative space nail art looks. I just love this subtle wash of color. It is just so pretty. And this year for this design, I decided to go with purple, so I'm using Cupcake Polish's Believe, which is this really beautiful lavender micro glitter. And I'm going to be wiping off most of the polish from the brush, so that way there's just a little bit on it. And then I'm going to start doing these downward strokes from the tip of my nail, kind of going towards the center, but not too far down. I'm trying to keep these strokes as light and feathery as possible because this glitter gradient is going to be built up in 2 or 3 coats. So this first one is definitely looking a little sparse, but you definitely see the outline of what it's going to be. So on the second coat, I just focus on applying more of the glitter towards the actual tip of my nails. So the color and coverage is just a little bit more built up near the tip, and then it starts to slowly fade the lower it goes. So then when it comes to painting the snowflakes, I start by painting this X shape and then a vertical line down the center. And then I create these little, basically chicken feet along the tips of those lines. And that's pretty much the easiest snowflake design you can do, but you can also make it easier by painting your snowflake in the corner, so you're only kind of painting half of it. I made one of my lines a little too thick, so I went in with this rubber cuticle pusher to slowly and gently push in the line to sort of thin it out. So here's a little tip for you, just so you don't have to redo the whole thing. I really love the snowflake designs that have that diamond shape in the center, so I added that for some detail, but I didn't want to do the chicken feet again, so I did these dots, but I think I just made them too big, so it looked a little cartoony, but snowflakes are supposed to be unique, right? So we're going with that. But yeah, I absolutely love this design. I was actually wearing it as a full hand manicure, so here's a look at the other nails, which I think came out a lot better. If painting snowflakes is way too hard, I would highly recommend buying a cute snowflake glitter topper. It is just so adorable. This one is from Noodles Nail Polish and it's called First Snow. And I thought it would pair perfectly with this cute little snowman. So I'm going to be using Olive as Pluto as my base, which is this super dark navy blue. And then using a big dotting tool dipped in white, I'm going to create a row of 3 dots starting from the bottom up, because your first dot is always going to be your largest, and that creates your snowman. So you're going to add in your little details with a small brush and a toothpick to create the little face. But like I mentioned, the star of this mani is this glitter topper. It is just so magical and just winter in a bottle. I especially love this over a dark blue for the most contrast, because this one also has these little iridescent glitters, so they really just glow along the white. And I just love this look so much. It almost reminds me of a snow globe. Next, I have this adorable black cat in a sparkly pink beanie. I just love this design so much. As you probably have seen in some of my other nail art compilations, I love doing these little cat designs where they're basically like a big half moon kind of shape. So that's what I'm starting with, except I'm not making the head super half circle-y shape. It's kind of more like a rounded rectangle. So once I'm happy with the shape and size, I'll go in and add the ears. And I'm not too worried about them being super neat or straight because I'm going to be adding this little beanie on top. So for the beanie, I'm again using that same hot pink reflective glitter as before, just because I love this color. And I'm creating this little half moon sort of dome shape on top of the cat's head. And I'm sort of bringing it down and overlapping it and then painting this curved stripe across the front. So it's like the rim of the beanie. And I went in with Quartz for the pom-pom on the beanie and just some final details using a light pink polish to create the nose and the inside of the ears. I just think this is such a cute design. It is so precious. I'm still trying to figure out how to do a little kitty in a sweater, but I'm still satisfied with this beanie. Continuing on with these cute little caricatures, I have this cute little polar bear with a scarf. Oh my gosh, he is so precious and adorable. I just love him so much. So over my sheer pink base, I went in with a white polish to create his little head. It was kind of a circle shape at first, but I ended up making it a little bit more ovally in the end, and then created his body. And after I was happy with his initial shape, I went in to add his little ears with these 2 dots. Then I added 2 black dots for his eyes and painted a little upside down triangle for his nose. I was definitely holding my breath for this part because I was just so worried because of how small it was and I didn't want to mess it up, but it turned out so cute in the end. So then with a bigger nail art brush, I went in to slowly add the scarf, and I made it slightly curve around his neck instead of just go straight across. And then I added these 2 little lines for the ends of the scarf, and lastly decided decided to add in 2 white dots for his eyes just to give him a little bit more depth, and he is just so stinking cute. I haven't worn this design in years and I was so excited to wear it again. Next, I have this super sweet little gingerbread man. I love painting these or just other gingerbread type of cookie shapes. I think they're just so adorable. So I'm going to be starting with the head and just creating an initial dot and then again swirling it around to make it a little bit bigger. Once I'm happy with the size and shape of it, I'll go in and start creating the arms, which are just these little oblong shapes. And then I'll start dragging the polish down to create the side of his body that extends to his leg, and basically repeat that on the other side. And that is it. It is just literally so simple. Of course, if you want to add some detail to his face with some white polish for icing, you can do that. I just did a face and 2 buttons, but you can add as much detail as you want. They literally are the perfect canvas. If you want to challenge yourself with this design, you can always make these a little bit smaller and again add these different cookie shapes. Funny enough, I actually don't think I've ever made gingerbread cookies. Next, I have this cable knit sweater pattern. This is such a classic and a cozy design. There's a few different ways you can do this, but I'm just going to show you my go-to pattern. I basically start with these 2 vertical sets of dashes. I try to paint them as straight as possible, but if there are any mistakes, you can just kind of fix it with your base color. And then I create these little diagonal lines connecting the bottom corner of one side to the top corner of the other side. So it's sort of that like stitch pattern. Then after that, I will create these 2 vertical stripes along either side of that design. Then on one side, I do this row of angled dashes, and the other side, I just do some little dots. You can also just repeat the angled dashes, just going in the opposite direction on that side if you wanted, but dots were just easier, and I think you can still get that this is a sweater pattern. And last but certainly not least, we have this Nutcracker inspired plaid design. I've really been loving this subtle plaid French tip combination. You may have seen my tutorial for the fall version in my shorts video last month. So I'm using a dark navy for my French tip and then this metallic red to create these vertical and horizontal stripes along the side and towards the tip of my nail. And then with the white polish, I'll basically create these 2 stripes parallel to the red ones. It's totally okay to have to go over your lines a little bit to fix them up. And for this last detail, I went in with this like rosy gold champagne metallic color and created these little dashed lines kind of in between the red and the white stripes. So I did that for both sets of stripes and I feel like it just completed the look so well. It's such a beautiful, small, subtle detail, but it really pops and pulls it all together. I just love how this turned out so much. So that wraps up my winter and holiday nail art video. I really hope that you enjoyed these looks as much as I did because I had so much fun creating them and putting this video together for you all. Can't wait to hear which design was your favorite and which ones you are planning to do. If you're feeling inspired to try them out and post them to Instagram, feel free to tag me and especially to use the hashtag POLISHEDYOGI so that way I can see it. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!